Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the show that looks into fascinating sources to pull out, the wisdom, the insights, those moments that make you go, uh-huh. Today, we're tackling a story that really flips the script on what we think about money, about power, and, well, what success even looks like when you've basically got it all. We're talking about Stephen Ross. He's 85, a massive figure in industry, worth something like north of $17 billion. And here's the kicker, the part that's almost hard to believe. Just recently, in 2024, he gets this incredible offer, $10 billion. Cash. For what? For his prize assets, the Miami Dolphins, the team, Plus Hard Rock Stadium and that big Formula One event, the Miami Grand Prix. Okay, let's unpack this. Just pause on that for a second. $10 billion. This is on top of the $17 billion he already has. It's frankly generational money, like set up your great-great-grandkids' money. So the real question isn't just, did he sell? We know he didn't. The question is, why? Why walk away from that? What kind of thinking, what sort of core philosophy makes someone say no thanks to $10 billion, especially when, by any normal standard, they're already set for life, many times over. It's more than just a business decision, isn't it? It feels like a statement.
It absolutely is. And what's fascinating here is this goes way beyond just one rich guy making a kind of quirky choice. It's really a story about how wealth itself gets redefined, once you've passed a certain point, once basic needs, even luxuries, are totally covered. It forces us to ask, what actually motivates the super wealthy? What's the driving force when more money doesn't really add much? So our mission today in this deep dive is to really get under the hood of Stephen Ross's very unique view on, well, everything. Wealth, success, legacy. That last one's key. We're going to dig into his financial mindset, how he thinks about money. We'll look at his career strategy, the habits that helped him build this massive empire, and also his life philosophy, how he sees power, how he deals with crisis. Because it's all connected. We're aiming to show not just how he built it all, but crucially, why some of these decisions, like turning down $10 billion, which seem, frankly, irrational on the surface, why they actually make perfect logical sense when you see them through a specific, very long-term perspective.
Exactly. Think of this deep dive as like your inside track to understanding those really big, often hidden motivations behind huge business moves. It's definitely about more than just the dollars and cents. It's about finding those aha moments that might change how you think about wealth, about success, especially at that kind of extreme level. We all dream about financial freedom, right? That point where money isn't the main worry anymore. But Ross's story throws a curveball. It suggests that for some people, maybe real freedom isn't about getting more money. Maybe it's about keeping control. It's about making an impact. It's about building something that lasts. Legacy, it kind of forces you, the listener, to think, okay, what do I really value most? What's my own definition? Okay, so let's dive right into that foundation. How Stephen Ross actually views money itself. For most people, I think if you say massive wealth, the first things that pop into mind are probably, total security, never worrying about bills again, maybe crazy luxury, yachts, jets, whatever. We kind of see wealth as the finish line, right? The ultimate goal you work towards, the big prize at the end.
That's the common view, yeah. But our deep dive shows Ross is wired completely differently. It's really striking. He doesn't see money as the destination at all. For him, it's crystal clear. Money is the engine. It's a tool, a powerful one, obviously. But it's a tool designed for doing things, for building things, for pursuing something bigger than just a bigger bank balance.
And this wasn't some philosophy he cooked up after he made his billions, right? This goes way back.
Oh, absolutely. This view, this pragmatism, it was hammered out early on through some pretty tough experiences. He was born in Detroit in 1940, middle-class Jewish family. And one lesson he learned really early, almost viscerally, was that money could vanish, just like that, as quickly as it arrived. So that likely instilled a deep respect for maybe not money itself, but financial stability, resilience, understanding that it's not guaranteed.
And his early career wasn't exactly a smooth ride either.
Far from it. Graduated from Michigan, got a law degree, tried finance in New York, but it didn't click initially.
Yeah.
Our sources talk about a period in his early 30s where, and this is his own reflection, he failed so badly.
Wow.
That he actually had to borrow $10,000 from his mother just to keep going. Imagine that. Early 30s, ambitious, and having to ask your mom for a bailout.
That's a really critical moment, isn't it? It completely shatters any myth of him being an overnight success. So how does that kind of early, probably quite humbling failure shape how you approach wealth for the rest of your life? What's the takeaway from that?
That's the key question. This raises an important question. How does such a crushing early failure shape one's entire approach to wealth? For a lot of people, that might make them incredibly risk-averse, or maybe just bitter. But Ross famously reframed it. He called that whole experience, needing the loan, almost going bust, he called it tuition.
Tuition, like paying for an education.
Exactly. A very expensive, very painful, but ultimately invaluable education in how markets really work. The importance of structure, of finding an edge. That mindset, seeing setbacks as investments in learning, not dead ends, that's absolutely fundamental to understanding him. It taught him stability matters, leverage matters, finding overlooked opportunities matters.
Okay, so armed with this tuition, he starts related companies in 1972. And how does this engine, not destination view play out?
Right away. He didn't go after the flashy stuff, the big Manhattan office towers everyone else wanted. Instead, he found this niche, a niche that, frankly, the Wall Street bankers looked down on: affordable housing.
Affordable housing. That seems surprising.
It does, but it was strategically brilliant. He wasn't just being socially conscious, though maybe that was part of it. He became a master of the complex world of federal tax credits and government programs. Things like the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. He figured out how to use these tools to fund his developments. So while others were chasing prestige, taking big risks, he was building this incredibly stable base, reliable cash flow, strong government partnerships. It was absolutely about stability instead of status. And that seemingly unsexy strategy built the foundation for what eventually became this, $70 billion real estate behemoth.
So that patient, almost contrarian approach early on allowed him to eventually take on the massive projects.
Precisely. It gave him the financial footing, the credibility, the relationships to later tackle something as monumental as Hudson Yards in New York.
Hudson Yards. Yeah, that's definitely not small ball.
Not at all. A $25 billion mega development. They call it a city within a city. It just shows the scale he eventually reached, built on that initial foundation of stability.
Okay, so connecting this all back, this whole mindset money as an engine, shaped by early failure, prioritizing stability, how does it explain rejecting the $10 billion?
It explains everything. When you see it through that lens, the rejection isn't just understandable, it's almost predictable. Look, he's already got $17 billion. Another $10 billion, honestly, it wouldn't change his life in any practical way. It doesn't buy him anything he doesn't already have access to. For him, the real currency, the true measure of wealth, isn't the number in the bank account. Our sources consistently point to this. It's about control, in leverage, in the ability to shape skylines and entire communities.
The power to build things, basically.
Exactly. And the value he places on his legacy, his control, his vision for the team and the city of Miami, that Tim is literally priceless.
Yeah.
You can't put a number on it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because it messes with how we usually think about success, right?
Yeah.
Once you shift your definition of money from the end goal to the tool for opportunity, for influence, for legacy, then saying no to $10 billion isn't crazy. It's perfectly logical. It's consistent. He's not turning down money. He's protecting the engine itself. He's protecting his ability to keep building.
Okay, so we've established his internal view of money. Let's talk about how that translates into action, into his actual career strategy.
Yeah.
You mentioned he's not just a developer. There's this idea of him being a city builder. What does that really mean? How is it different from just, putting up buildings? It's a fundamental difference in perspective. Most developers think transactionally. Buy land, build a building, sell or lease it, move on. Profit. Ross thinks in terms of ecosystems. He sees buildings not as standalone objects, but as parts of a larger interconnected whole, the city itself. So city builder means he's actively, intentionally trying to reshape the urban environment, influence how people live, work, and interact within it. He's thinking about the whole fabric, not just the individual threads.
And Hudson Yards is the big example of this.
It's the ultimate example. Largest private real estate development in U.S. history, right? $25 billion. On Manhattan's west side. And the sheer scale tells you the ambition. It covers 28 acres built over active rail yards, which itself was an insane engineering feat costing billions just for the platform before they build upwards.
Right, I remember reading about that platform.
Yeah, and what did he build on it? Not just offices. It's conceived as a self-contained city. You've got millions of square feet of office space, yeah, but also luxury condos, a huge shopping mall, public spaces like the plaza with the vessel sculpture, cultural venues like the Shed.
The Shed, right.
It was this incredibly bold bet. Ross bet that in a city like New York, people would pay a massive premium for convenience, for connection, the ability to live, work, shop, eat, see art, all within a few blocks. He wasn't just selling square footage. He was engineering an entire urban experience, a lifestyle.
That transformation of basically an industrial area is pretty staggering. But he's not just focused on New York anymore, is he? There's this big push into Florida now.
That's right, a major strategic pivot. In 2024, he launched Related Ross, specifically targeting West Palm Beach. And the vision there is, again, huge, another $10 billion plan.
10 billion again. So what's the plan for West Palm? Is it another Hudson Yards?
Not exactly the same model, but the scale and ambition are comparable. We're talking 6 million square feet of office space.
6 million.
Yeah. Plus 1.4 million square feet of residential, almost 900 hotel rooms, retail hubs. The goal is to create this vibrant, walkable downtown core.
What's the strategy behind betting so big on West Palm Beach?
It's a very calculated bet on demographics and economics. Ross saw the wave, maybe even before others did, of companies and wealthy individuals ditching high-tax states like New York, California, Illinois.
And heading to Florida.
Exactly. Florida's got the tax advantages, the weather, a growing talent pool. Ross isn't just waiting for them to arrive. He's building the high-end infrastructure, the offices, the homes, the amenities to attract them. He's essentially trying to engineer West Palm Beach into America's next boomtown. The Wall Street Journal even said his goal is turning West Palm into the hottest city in America. He's building the magnet.
Okay, I see the city builder angle in the real estate, but how does owning the Miami Dolphins fit into this city builder mindset? It seems like a different kind of asset.
On the surface, maybe. But for Ross, it's completely integrated. Owning the Dolphins, the stadium, the F1 race, it's not just a side hobby or a separate investment. It's a core part of his strategy for Miami itself. It's about building that broader ecosystem. Think about it. The Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium, the Formula One Grand Prix, these aren't just sports assets. They are, as the outline says, pieces of a larger city-building puzzle.
Yeah.
Their role is to elevate Miami's status globally, to make it not just a fun place to visit, but a major global destination for big events, for business, for culture.
So while someone else might see the Dolphins and think, okay, $10 billion, nice profit, sell it.
Right, a transaction.
Ross sees it as what, a strategic tool, a lever for shaping the city.
Precisely. He's playing a much longer, much broader game. It's about urban transformation, cultural cachet, economic development for Miami as a whole.
Can you give some specific examples of how the team or the stadium helps build Miami in his view?
Sure. Look at Hard Rock Stadium. Under Ross, it's had something like $500 million in renovations. It's now a world-class venue, so it doesn't just host Dolphins games. It hosts Super Bowls. That brings massive global media attention, hundreds of thousands of visitors, huge economic impact. It hosts major international soccer matches again, bringing in global audiences, boosting tourism, big concerts. And then there's the F1 race.
The Miami Grand Prix, yeah.
That event specifically targets a high-net-worth international crowd. It puts Miami on the same stage as Monaco, Singapore. It enhances the city's brand as a sophisticated global hub. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ross isn't just managing a team or a venue. He's using these assets strategically to boost Miami's reputation, attract investment, draw tourists, and basically make the city a more important player on the world stage. They're economic and cultural engines for the whole region.
Okay, so we had the financial mindset, the city building strategy. Let's shift gears a bit to something maybe less obvious, but just as critical to his success. This idea of compound networking. We often think of wealth building as, a solo effort or purely about numbers. But Ross seems to understand that wealth doesn't just grow in a vacuum. What did you say? It compounds through relationships?
That's exactly it. It's like compound interest, but with people. And Ross has mastered this. It's almost a secret discipline for him. While many focus only on the tangible, the deals, the assets, Ross has always cultivated the intangible, the connections, the networks. And these connections build on each other, creating exponential value over time.
How does that play out in practice? Can you give an example? His relationship with the University of Michigan seems key here.
Absolutely. His connection to Michigan is a perfect case study. We're talking record-breaking donations, over $478 million in total, including that massive $200 million gift in 2013 alone.
Which is just staggering.
It is. But it's crucial to understand this wasn't just charity in the conventional sense. It was highly strategic. Yes, it got his name on the Ross School of Business, which is huge branding. But it did much more. It gave him unparalleled influence at a major university, input on direction, connection to top academics, access to emerging talent. It placed him right in the center of elite circles, academia, business, policy that all intersect there. He effectively turned generosity into brand equity, into soft power, into reputational capital. And in the ecosystems he operates in, that kind of influence, that trust, often unlocks doors that pure money can't.
That's a really sharp way to put it, turning philanthropy into strategic brand equity. Okay, so how does this compound networking apply to the NFL? That's a notoriously tight circle.
He applied the same principle. Buying the Dolphins wasn't just about owning a team. It was about buying a seat at a very exclusive table. Suddenly, he's in the same room as other billionaire owners. Think Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones, Dan Kroenke. These aren't just team owners, they're power brokers. They influence multi-billion-dollar broadcasting deals. They have lines into national politics. They shape the economic fortunes of the cities where their stadiums are. Being in that NFL inner circle means you're part of conversations where massive decisions get made, often informally, over dinner tables. It's about access, information flow, collective influence. Owning the team is the entry ticket to that club.
What seems really unique about Ross, though, based on our sources, is how he connects these different worlds. He doesn't seem to keep real estate, sports, philanthropy separate. He merges them.
Exactly. That's the flywheel effect we talked about. He consciously builds one ecosystem where everything connects and reinforces everything else.
Can you trace how that flywheel works?
Okay, think about it chronologically, sort of. His early success in affordable housing built credibility and relationships with government entities. That foundation allowed him to finance bigger, riskier projects like Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards attracted major corporations and wealthy residents, expanding his network into global business and finance. Buying the Dolphins put him in the NFL power circle. Owning the stadium allowed him to bring in F1. The F1 race attracts exactly the kind of high-net-worth global audience that might be interested in luxury condos in Hudson Yards or office space in West Palm Beach. See how it loops. Every relationship, every deal opens doors for the next one. Every success in one area boosts his credibility and leverage in another. It's a constantly spinning flywheel of capital, connections, and influence.
It's incredibly strategic when you lay it out like that.
It really is. And there's a timeless lesson here for anyone in business today, I think. Ross's career is proof. Wealth doesn't just come from what you know or even from what you own. It comes from who you sit next to, who picks up your call, and who believes in your vision. Relationships are a core asset.
Which brings us back again to the $10 billion offer. Selling the Dolphins wouldn't just be selling a team.
No, it would be like, as the source material suggests, selling the hub of a wheel.
The central point of his network.
Exactly. It's the nexus point for so much of his influence in sports, in Miami's development, in national circles. Selling it would mean dismantling a huge part of that carefully constructed ecosystem, that flywheel. It would mean giving up a massive chunk of his relational capital, his influence network. And for Ross, that network is power.
Okay, we've explored the financial philosophy, the city building strategy, the power of his network. Let's shift now to something maybe more personal. The idea of legacy. This seems to be where the purely rational financial calculations really start to break down and something else takes over. It helps explain the difference maybe between the billionaires who reach a certain point and just cash out versus someone like Ross who stays in the game long after he financially needs to. It feels like it's about legacy over money.
I think that's absolutely right. And that $10 billion rejection in 2024 really threw this into sharp relief. The business world, the sports world, they were kind of baffled. From a purely transactional viewpoint, it looked like a slam dunk deal, an incredible price, locking in massive gains.
Anyone else would have likely taken it.
Almost certainly. But for Ross, accepting that offer wasn't just about the money. It would have meant selling off something deeply personal, something he seems to view almost like a family heirloom.
A family heirloom. That's a strong way to put it for a football team.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? But his actions back it up. Because instead of selling, what did he do? He made this other really surprising move. He set up a formal succession plan. He made it clear the team, the stadium, the whole package would eventually pass to his daughter, Jennifer Ross.
Which is unusual in the NFL, right? Ownership usually just passes to another billionaire or a group.
Exactly. It breaks the mold. Usually it's a sale to the highest bidder among the existing ownership pool or approved outsiders.
Yeah.
This generational transfer within the family is quite rare. And what's fascinating here is this decision underlines that it wasn't just about keeping a valuable business running. It was, in a very real sense, about protecting a family heirloom. Yeah. It elevates the Dolphins beyond just an asset. It makes it part of his family's story, his personal legacy, something money alone can't measure or replace.
So it's not just a line item on his net worth statement. It's got this deep personal familial significance? Does this focus on legacy, on building something that lasts beyond him, show up in his other major projects too? Is it a consistent theme?
Oh, absolutely. It's a powerful, consistent thread woven through everything. Think about those huge donations to Michigan again. Yes, his name's on the building, but the stated motivation, the one that comes through in the sources, is to inspire future generations. It's about impacting education and entrepreneurship long after he's gone, investing in future leaders. Or look at the West Palm Beach development. Is it about making money in Florida's boom? Sure, partly. But the deeper drive seems to be to create a city that outlives him, to build communities that will stand as a testament to his vision for decades, maybe longer.
And keeping the Dolphins fits that pattern.
Perfectly. Keeping the team, passing it to his daughter, it's explicitly to pass on a legacy that carries the Ross name far beyond his own lifetime. It embeds his family into Miami's cultural identity. He's building for endurance, for generational continuity.
So when you put all that together, it really paints a clear picture. For Stephen Ross, money, even vast amounts of it, has genuinely never been the ultimate scoreboard. And that $10 billion rejection is like the ultimate proof, the exclamation point on that philosophy.
It really is. It's the clearest possible statement that, for him, wealth is temporary, but legacy is eternal. That sounds a bit grand, maybe, but it seems to be his genuine operating principle, prioritizing lasting impact, meaning family continuity over immediate financial gain. So yeah, walking away from $10 billion seen through that lens isn't crazy at all. It's completely consistent with how he's lived his life and built his empire. It's about protecting the legacy he spent decades building.
Let's dig into another layer of this. How Ross uses his wealth not just for personal legacy, but as a platform, platform for influence. The idea seems to be that for him, real power isn't just having billions. It's about using those billions to shape people, institutions, and even culture. How does he actually do that?
Well, his philanthropy is probably the most obvious example of building that platform.
Yeah.
We mentioned Michigan already, being the single largest donor in the history of the University of Michigan, over $478 million. That's not just generosity, it's influence building on a massive scale.
How so? Beyond just having his name on things.
Think about the impact of gifts, like the $100 million in 2004 that named the Ross School, or the $200 million in 2013. These weren't just symbolic, they were huge investments in reputation, in education, and in legacy. They allowed him input, gave him access, shaped the direction of a world-class institution. Like you said, his name is literally etched into their daily lives for every student, every faculty member. That's more than charity. That's shaping future generations. It's generational influence. He's helping define what business education looks like.
Okay, so shaping institutions through philanthropy. Does he extend that platform into, say, social issues or broader culture?
He does. Look at Rise the Ross Initiative in Sports for Equality, which he founded in 2015. He saw the unique power of sports to bridge divides, so he created this nonprofit specifically to combat racism and promote equality, using sports figures and programs. And he didn't just write a check. He poured millions into it and actively positioned himself as a leader on these issues, using his sports connections to drive the conversation.
So using his sports ownership as a platform for social commentary.
Exactly. And beyond that, look at the boards he serves on. The Guggenheim Foundation, huge influence in the art world. Cornell Tech, at the cutting edge of technology and education. But participating in these high-level organizations, he's deliberately weaving himself into the conversations that shape culture, education, and policy in this country. He's ensuring he has a voice where it matters.
And this idea of a platform, does it connect back to the Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium too? Is owning them also about controlling a cultural platform in Miami?
Absolutely. Hard Rock Stadium is a perfect example. Under Ross, it's become far more than just a football stadium. It's arguably the central cultural and entertainment hub for South Florida.
Hosting all those huge events we talked about.
Right. Super Bowls, global soccer, massive concerts, F1. Each event does multiple things. Brings in revenue, yes, but also expands his reach, connects him to new audiences, and crucially, cements Miami's position as a global hub. He owns the infrastructure of entertainment. By controlling the venue where so much of the city's major cultural life happens, Ross isn't just making money, he's controlling the cultural heartbeat of an entire city. He gets to shape Miami's image, its identity, its offerings to the world. That's profound influence.
Okay, so let's tie this back to the $10 billion offer one last time, through this lens of wealth as a platform.
For the typical observer, yeah, selling looks smart financially, maximize the return. But our sources suggest Ross doesn't play for money anymore. He plays for influence. The team, the stadium, the F1 race, these are just assets to be bought and sold based on market value. In his hands, they are strategic levers of power. Selling them would mean surrendering the very tools that allow him to shape communities, build cities, and leave his mark on history. It would mean giving up his platform. So for Ross, wealth is the foundation, but the real structure he's building on top of it is influence, impact, the ability to shape things. And that platform, built over decades, is worth far more to him than $10 billion in cash.
There's one more crucial thread running through all of this, something that underpins his entire career. Resilience. The guy just doesn't seem to quit, and it connects to this philosophy you mentioned. Every crisis is tuition for the long game. He doesn't just survive setbacks, he seems to learn from them, maybe even get stronger because of them.
That's a perfect way to put it. And you have to remember, his resilience was forged early on. That period in his late 60s, early 70s, when he nearly went bankrupt, had to borrow from his mom.
That tuition moment.
Exactly. What could have been a humiliating end actually became the bedrock of his long game thinking. It taught him humility, maybe, but also the critical importance of structure, stability, and patience. It directly led to his initial strategy with related companies. Remember, he didn't chase the glamorous stuff right away. He focused on affordable housing, using those tax credits.
The small ball strategy others dismissed.
Right, but it was incredibly resilient. It built this foundation of steady cash flow, strong government relationships. It meant he could weather economic downturns that wiped out more leveraged, riskier developers. He survived and often thrived through multiple market cycles because of that early, patient approach.
Okay, so early struggles built the foundation for patience, but the ultimate test of that, the biggest display of playing the long game, had to be 2008, right? The global financial crisis.
Oh, absolutely. That was the crucible. The entire world economy seemed to be melting down. Real estate was ground zero, credit markets froze, panic was everywhere.
And what does Ross do?
He does the exact opposite of what almost everyone else was doing. He doubled down, big time. That's when he bought 95% of the Miami Dolphins and the stadium for $1.1 billion.
Which, at that moment, must have looked completely insane to people.
Insane is probably the word most observers used. Reckless. Counterintuitive. Why would you pour over $1 billion into a non-essential asset like a sports team when the financial world is collapsing? But Ross wasn't reacting to the panic of 2008. He was thinking much further ahead. He was playing for 2030.
He saw an opportunity in the crisis.
A massive one. He believed in the long-term value of NFL franchises, the power of live sports, and the future potential of Miami. He had the nerve, and crucially the financial stability from his earlier patient strategy, to make a huge bet when assets were, relatively speaking, cheap due to the panic. It was strategic patience turned into aggressive action.
And history proved him right, didn't it?
Spectacularly right. Fast forward from that $1.1 billion investment in 2008. By 2025, just the Dolphins franchise alone is valued at $6.2 billion.
Wow. A nearly six-fold increase.
Yep. And that's not even counting the value of the upgraded stadium or the F1 race he brought in. What looked like madness in 2008 is now hailed as absolute visionary genius. He didn't just ride out the storm. He used it to fundamentally transform his portfolio and scale of influence.
So this whole history, learning from early failure, building patiently, making bold moves during crises, it all feeds into understanding the $10 billion rejection.
It does. His entire career screams the same lesson. The real money isn't made by selling at the peak. It's made by holding through the storm, shaping the future, and letting time magnify your bets. He's proven that principle over and over.
So his calculation regarding the Dolphins now must be similar. He thinks $10 billion today is less than what it could be worth later.
That's certainly part of it. He's likely looking at Miami's continued growth, the increasing value of global sports media rights, the scarcity of assets like NFL teams and F1 contracts. He probably thinks $10 billion today could easily be $20 billion tomorrow, metaphorically speaking, if Miami keeps booming and the value of unique content and experiences keeps rising. He's betting on the long-term trajectory, not the current market price.
And this long game, it even extends beyond his own lifetime, right? With the succession plan.
Exactly. He's 85. He knows he won't be around forever. Setting up his daughter, Jennifer, to take over isn't just about keeping it in the family. It's a clear signal that the Ross legacy will outlast him, that his empire is built to endure not one lifetime, but several. And this raises an important question. How many people with that kind of wealth are truly playing that multi-generational game? Not just thinking about their kids, but actively setting the board for generations to come.
It's a different level of strategic thinking.
It really is. His history is clear. Crisis taught him patience. Patience taught him power. And the power he wields is focused on the long haul, not just next year, but the next 50 years. Rejecting $10 billion is just one move in that much, much longer game. Hashtag, JagTag, outro.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Stephen Ross, you look at the numbers and they're just mind-boggling. $17 billion net worth, a $70 billion real estate empire, a $6.2 billion football team. But the real story, the core lesson we've unpacked today, isn't really about the size of the fortune. It's about the choices he makes with that fortune, especially when more money isn't the driving factor anymore.
Exactly. The consistent theme is that for Ross, wealth is a tool, not a purpose. It's the engine, not the destination.
And the purpose, again and again, seems to be legacy. You see it in the cities he's reshaping, like Hudson Yards or West Palm Beach. You see it in the institutions he's funding and influencing, like the Ross School of Business in Michigan, impacting future leaders.
And you definitely see it in the team he refused to sell, the Miami Dolphins, turning it from just an asset into a family heirloom, a piece of his enduring legacy in Miami.
Which leads to that maybe uncomfortable, maybe even provocative takeaway you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, the idea that in a world obsessed with cashing in, maybe the biggest deals are not the ones you take, they're the ones you turn down.
Yeah.
Ross saying no to $10 billion was a powerful act of defining success on your own terms. It was him saying, my game is different, my metrics are different.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Well, it's probably not about turning down billions, but maybe it is about the courage to define success on your own terms, whatever that means for you. It's about considering playing a game bigger than wealth, deeper than influence, and longer than a lifetime. What does your long game look like?
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to, let's call it your $10 billion question, a little thought experiment. Seriously, put yourself in his shoes. You're 85. You have $17 billion. Life is, comfortable. Someone offers you $10 billion more. Clean, simple, transformative money, even for a billionaire. Do you take the deal? Or do you walk away, like Stephen Ross did, to protect something else? Something money can't actually buy: your legacy, your control, your vision.
That's a tough hypothetical, isn't it?
It is, because it forces you to confront your own values. It's a mirror. Do we prioritize immediate comfort, security, the easy win? Do we cash out early? Or do we sometimes choose to hold on? For legacy, maybe. For impact, for something that feels more meaningful, something that might just outlive us.
We all face versions of that choice, maybe not with billions, but in our own lives, our careers, our families.
Absolutely. So we'll leave you with that thought. What's your $10 billion question, and what would you truly choose? Something to reflect on.